Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Cheryl Silman, and thank you for joining me on Living a Totally Healthy Life. It's a pleasure to have you with me today, and I'm extremely excited about my guest because we have a wonderful show in store for you. So let me share who my guest is and why I'm so excited. We will be having a conversation with Dr. Alberto Villoldo all the way from Chile. And Dr. Villoldo is not only a renowned medical anthropologist, he is a best-selling author. He is also the founder of the renowned Four Winds Society. And in addition to that, he travels all over the world teaching energy medicine. He has spent more than 30 years working with the shaman in the Amazon and in the Andes, and he is a font of great wisdom and knowledge, and it's such a pleasure to have him on our show today. So let me welcome Dr. Alberto Villoldo to the show today. Hello, Alberto.
Hello, Cheryl. Great to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you here, and I've interviewed you many times on my podcast, but this is the first time we have met face to face. And I'm just so happy you've been able to give us some time today. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Alberto, I'd like us to start with the definition of shaman because we're going to be delving into the wisdom of the shaman that you have been working with and your own wisdom that has been expanding as you've worked over these years, many years. So help us understand this term because it's spoken of quite a lot these days, but I think it's often not totally understood. So let's start with that definition as you know it to be.
Well, the word shaman actually comes from Siberia, but it's become a popular description of individuals who are either from a traditional society of Native Americans, for example, who mediate between the visible and the invisible world, the world of matter and the world of energy, or the world of the living and the world of spirit. And today the shamans are very busy because there's so much traffic between these worlds. So many souls are returning back home and so much new information and wisdom coming from the spirit world. So they are spirit doctors, but they also work with the body. They don't have the schism that we have in the West where the body is one agenda and then the mind is a different one and the soul is a different one. They are holistic, if you would, integrative.
I have such respect for indigenous cultures. I've been very privileged. I've spent some time with Hawaiian elders and Native American elders and having time with Aboriginal elders in Australia and also spending some time in Peru even. And I really honor the wisdom that comes from these cultures. And I think more than ever, these are the cultures that have been making prophecies about this time, but also we're realizing there is such a wealth of profound knowledge and spiritual understanding that we are seeking at this time. So can you give us in a sense, an overview of that worldview of indigenous cultures that is so important for us to understand and be receptive to at this time?
The indigenous people are the children of the earth. They are the children of Pachamama, of Gaia. They honor their mother. They celebrate Mother Earth. They give thanks to her all the time. They are the children of the earth. But we have become orphaned in the West. We have become disconnected from the earth, from nature, from our mothers. And we're committing today, actually, humanity is committing a kind of matricide where we're actually killing our Mother Earth. So there's this great disconnection that is the cause of so much illness in the West. The fact that we are no longer supported by Gaia, by Pachamama, we're no longer cared for by her. And it began with our mythology, our being kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And we're the only people in the planet that were ever kicked out of paradise. Nobody else was kicked out of Eden. The Aborigines were, the Sub-Saharan Africans, the Buddhists, we are the only Europeans, European heritage. So this is the maladies that we're suffering today. In Western medicine, we have over 14,000 different illnesses, 14,000 different ways of being sick. And if you discover a new way of being sick, you become famous. You get to put your name on it, like Dr. Alzheimer's or Dr. Parkinson's. But in the Amazon, when I was a medical anthropologist there, they had no cancer, zero heart disease, and absolutely no Alzheimer's or dementia. So makes you wonder how much of our health is related to our reconnecting, our returning back to the mother, our healing that great separation from our mother.
So I recently came across some information that was talking about the Egyptians' understanding of the senses. And, it's the normal senses, smell, hearing, sight, but they added the mind as a sense, like the other senses. And I thought that was so profound, Alberto, that we have taken the sense, our mind, our intellect, and made it the primary tool through which we create and see the world. And we value our minds and how intelligent and clever and creative we are and making all this amazing technology. But we have, it seems to me, we no longer recognize it as just a sense. We see it as the only way, and we've lost our connection to the true essence of who we are, which is our heart. Can you share some thoughts about that?
I don't think I can add anything to what you just said so beautifully, Cheryl. I tell my students that the mind is mad. The mind is fundamentally an experiment that is distinctly human, and it's for a brief period of time until we can go beyond mind, so we can actually lose our mind and come to our senses. Because it's a very new phenomenon. This mind of the ego, of me, is just killing us.
So in traditional cultures, they have a different perception of how they navigate through the world, don't they?
Well, for example, in the Andean traditions where I spent 25 years and where I trained as a shaman, the greeting in the Quechua language is Ayu Yanchu, and the response is Ayu Yami. And Ayu means the village. Ayu Yanchu, are we well? And then the response is, yes, we are well, which means that I cannot be well by myself if you're not well. We are well. And then extends to Mother Earth. Is the Earth well? Are we well? We cannot be healthy if we're killing the Earth, if the Earth is not well. So this sense of interconnectedness is really a central part of the indigenous mind.
Well, so how do we return back to balance? I know that this has been so much a critical part of your work, and especially when we're talking about creating a new future or dreaming a new future is often the way in indigenous cultures they understand the creation of reality. How do we, the Western world, those of us that were brought up in this culture, in this paradigm, in this perception of reality, how do we start to make that shift into a more holistic, connected reality?
How do we do that? I think the first step is to recover our gut instinct, is to recover that our instinctual nature that we have so sabotaged with our mind. If our mind doesn't agree, then our gut, we no longer trust it, and our heart is left unable to respond with wholeheartedly. So everything becomes an intellectual process. The way that we recover our gut instinct to begin with is to recover our gut bacteria, our gut flora. And as you say so many times through your work, Cheryl, our gut gets decimated by antibiotics, and all of us have taken antibiotics and destroyed the colony in our gut. And remember that we're a colony organism. And so I was having dinner a few weeks ago with a couple friends from Harvard, and they said, Alberto, you read the new research, didn't you, about how probiotics are totally useless? And it's a $29 billion industry that's useless. And I go, no, guys, that's just bad science. And they go, what do you mean bad science? It's Harvard. I said, no, it's bad science. And we were having a glass of wine, and they said, well, what do you explain? I said, well, the mind of Gaia, of the planet, is bacterial. The bacteria have been here for 2,000 million years, and they're going to outlive us. And when you take your probiotics, they are bacteria. They're good bacteria. So you've got to open the capsule, put it in warm water so they wake up outside your stomach, and then you have to talk to them. You have to tell them, you have to go and talk to the mind of Mother Earth and tell her, I am part of the solution. Because today we are parasites on the earth. You have to tell them, I'm part of the solution. I'm a caretaker of the earth. I am here to be a steward of all life. And I am part of the group of people that's going to make a difference in the world. And if you don't say that to your probiotics, they're liable to want to do away with you because they'll recognize you as part of the problem. But the minute you recommit yourself to the earth and to your gut and to your colony, they will begin to work on your behalf. They're conscious beings. And then they'll produce the neurotransmitters that you need, the serotonin that your brain needs to be able to come into a good mood and feel good and sleep well and go into bliss and into communion with all life. And you'll recover your gut instinct. So it begins with the gut. And then you have to learn how to trust that innate instinct that we all have that will lead you right. It will always lead you right. Your gut and your heart will never lead you wrong unless the head gets in the way.
Well, that's where we have so much to learn in our Western culture because we trust our intellect to get us out of problems rather than our heart. And if you don't have your intellect in service to the heart, then you really get into trouble because you're serving the ego and all the problems from disconnection.
And the ego thinks that everything revolves around me. And it's not true.
That's such a powerful message that we are part of this system. We are all connected. We are not separate from nature. We are nature. And that really, this is a time of coming to the realization we can't continue the way we've been going, not only in the abuse of the earth, but in this false belief that our intellect can take us out of any problem, that we can create all the AI we want to solve anything, or there's a vaccine, or there's something. That's the intellect creating. We are creators, but when you are connected to your heart and from those instincts, you're creating from a different place. And I'd love for you to explore that a little bit more with us.
Well, I'm glad you brought the vaccines and the viral epidemic that we're experiencing today and people's hopes that we come up with a vaccine. And I do hope we come up with a vaccine, though I'm really kind of doubtful. When in effect, we want to be part of that 95% of the population that has very mild symptoms because we're healthy. So we have to take this as an opportunity to recover our health, to kind of step into states of extraordinary health. And remember that this pandemic is, to just put it into context, is occurring during the 6th great extinction event. There have been 5 previous mass extinction events in the planet since the dawn of life. And the last one before this one happened 65 million years ago when a meteorite struck the Earth and killed off all of the large life forms and all the species, the dinosaurs among them. But this one that we're experiencing today is man-made. We made it. And there are more species dying off every year than in any of the other previous extinction events. Now, what happens during extinction events is that evolution stops following the laws of Newtonian physics, and it begins to follow the laws of quantum physics. So it begins to quantum leap because Gaia loves life. And during these extinction events, she takes her foot off of the brake and steps onto the accelerator. And we step into accelerated evolution. So that we're not only evolving in between generations, it's not only our children who will be smarter and maybe handsomer than we are, but we can uncoil the DNA strand another twist and develop traits that never existed before within our generation. You and I, every one of us, can take that quantum leap to become the new human during this time of accelerated die-off. And this is the time that the indigenous people have been speaking about in their prophecies for the last 5,000 years. This is the end of humanity, they say, the end of Homo sapiens and the dawn of Homo luminous, of an entirely new human that's appearing on the earth today. And we can be that human. So this is the tremendous opportunity that I see available to us during this time. Now, we're not yet at the birth part. We're still in the dying off of the old, of the social systems, of the economic systems, of the health systems, and of what we consider normality, normal health. It's normal for people that are my age to be on 10 different kinds of medication. That's not normal. That's sick. So we can become increasingly healthier. And I wrote about this in my book, Grow a New Body. That was a national bestseller. How do you can grow a new body today that ages differently and heals differently and dies differently? And this is the opportunity that we can take. We can quantum leap today into a new level of health.
So this is so profound what you're saying, and I want to just stay with this a little bit longer. What was the prophecy? What was it that has been known for 5,000 years in these indigenous cultures? Why is it happening now? What is special about this time?
Well, the thing about prophecy is that it's never anchored to time, to a very specific time. It's anchored to a series of events. So the Andean prophecy, for example, speaks about the disappearance of the condor, the drying out of the high mountain lagoons, the desertification, the deserts advancing on the land, the melting of the glaciers. So these are all occurring right now, and then the seers of old were able to track along the timeline of humanity and foresee the coming of these events. And when these signals when you were able to tick the boxes, glaciers are melting, condors disappearing, deserts encroaching in California and in South America where we are, and the massive overpopulation that we have today, the humans gathered in cities like ants in an anthill, then you can tell that this is the beginning of that time of the great renewal. Because for the indigenous shamans, life goes in cycles. There's cycles of expansion and cycles of creation and then destruction and renewal. And we're in the middle of one of those. And in the Andes, they call it the Pachacuti, which is the end of time, the end of a time, of an era, and the end of a humanity, and the quantum leaping to becoming a new human. And this is us. This is hopefully what we're taking part in. But to do that, you have to be an outlier in the bell curve. You know, the bell curve that has the outliers in one end and in the other. In one end are the people that are in extraordinary health. And in the very fat part of the curve, you know, the curve is like that snake that ate a hat. In the very fat part, you have most of humanity, and they are sick. So you want to be an outlier. You want to recover your health. You want to eat organic. You want to replenish your colony in your gut. You want to put in the fire in a fire ceremony belief systems that don't work anymore, the beliefs that are killing you. And you want to come up with a new sacred map for your life journey. And this is what will allow you to become part of the solution, become part of this new humanity that's being born.
And that's such a powerful message. So we are at a time where it's a dissolution of the old structures and energies and systems that created this world as we've known it, and how Western culture has really taken over the world. I mean, especially American culture, right? It's all over, in all the countries around the world. But that's a destructive culture. It's very, like you said, it's parasitic. It's disconnected from the real energies of life. So those of us that are drawn to this new era, you often talk about dreaming a new future.
Yeah.
That's not just a metaphor, is it, Alberto?
No. It's not only a metaphor, it's a practice. And people ask me, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? Well, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to clean out your closet. So you've got to go to your closet, and many of us have done that in these days that we're at home, and you've got to throw out that old lava lamp that you've been keeping in case your grandchild or your son or you ever want to use it comes back into fashion again. And after you clean out your physical closet, you got to clean out your mental closet with all of the debris and the garbage and the dust and the souvenirs and the that you've accumulated there. And practice forgiveness. Practice forgiveness. Forgive those people that you think hurt you. And if you practice forgiveness at a very high level, you turn that into gratitude. Because forgiveness still implies that somebody did something wrong to you. But when you practice it at a high level, you go, thank you so much for teaching me those lessons. I never, ever want to learn in that way again. And then you have to take it to the next level, which is that you have to come up with a new roadmap. And the map has to be a sacred map. But first you have to burn the old map. You have to put them in the fire. And this you do it. You take a stick and you blow everything that has died within you, everything that is old, everything that is not life supporting anymore. And you can use a candle or you do a bonfire, and then you release it. You turn it to ashes and to light. And it needs a ceremony. You cannot do this in your head alone. It needs a ceremony. Because our most ancient brain, our limbic mammalian brain, the Neanderthal brain, only changes through ceremony. That's why we have wedding ceremonies and rites of passage and ceremonies of manhood and of womanhood. You need to change the brain in order to change the mind. So this is how you do it. And you can do it as an act of pure love and intentionality, an act of what shamans call an act of power. And you can do it today. All you need is a candle. You don't even need a candle, but that's just to remind you of that fire inside of you that can burn away everything that is no longer supporting of your renewal, of your coming out of the caterpillar phase and entering that butterfly stage.
So would you say this is a time when, for those that are committed to reconnecting with their true essential spiritual nature, that there is an energy to assist that expansion, that awakening more than ever before.
Yeah, these energies have always been available to us, and these energies have the codes for a new human, and we can upload those codes into our luminous energy field that surrounds the physical body, the light that you see around the Christ or around the Buddha. This is the human energy field, and it's an information field. And when we become disconnected from nature, we don't upload the new codes anymore. And the codes come in the form of light, of sunlight, and they're coming from the sun.
Mm.
This is why the sun has been sacred to every culture in the world. And so go out and get some sunlight, get some vitamin D. People ask me, can I get enough vitamin D by going out in the sun? And I say to them, yes, if you work as a lifeguard or if you bicycle to work naked. Otherwise, go take your shirt off, get some sunlight, get some vitamin D, but more important, you're going to be getting the codes in your luminous energy field, which are the codes for a new human. Now, once you download the codes into your field, you have to get them into every cell in your body, because we're energy beings. We're made of living energy. You've got to get it into every cell, into your mitochondria, your energy factories. But if your body is toxic, the signal to noise ratio goes up. There's a lot of noise and you cannot get the signal through. So you have to detox the body. And we know how to detox the body. You have to balance your hormones. You have to detox the body. You have to detox the mind and the brain. And we know how to do that with the botanicals and the supplements, like like all of the supplements that we're all familiar with, including alpha lipoic acid and including the detoxifiers and the upregulators. Detox the body so you can integrate, embody, incorporate the codes for the new being that we're becoming.
Yeah, that's wonderful. About a year ago, I learned how important the sun is as a carrier of frequencies. So I've been getting up every morning, watching the sun come up and making sure I have exposure to the sunlight, not just because of the benefit building vitamin D, but because it's communicating the frequencies and the information into every single cell through our eyes into our brain and then throughout the whole body and all the circadian clocks that get established. It was a whole revelation for me, a great appreciation, and it's just so profound.
Cheryl, when you look at the skin cancer rates in Australia, Australia has one of the highest rates of melanoma, of skin cancer in the world, the white people. But if you look at the Aborigines, you know what their incidence of skin cancer is?
Be very low.
Minimal. Minimal. And they don't put sunscreen on. They're out there in the sun all the time. But the minute they begin to eat the Western diet, with all the toxins in the diet and the pesticides and the genetically modified foods, their cancer rates become identical to of the white Australians. So we need to detox the body. So important. And then we can dream the world into being. You can dream your health into being. You don't have to become a statistic. And we can be part of this tremendous experiment that we're taking part of today of becoming a new human.
That's a powerful message, Alberto. We need that message at this time because there's so much fear of the unknown. We're at a moment in the history of this culture that never existed before. So there's so much uncertainty, and people are very overwhelmed with anxiety, actually.
I'm very hopeful right now, and I'm very optimistic. 30 years ago, we were all spreading the news. Climate change and epidemics are coming. We knew about them. We've had SARS and MERS, and so we were spreading today we got to spread the good news of what's possible and remain optimistic. One of the problems to getting depressed and anxious is that we produce high levels of cortisol in the brain, and cortisol depresses the immune system. In fact, they use cortisol to suppress the immune system in people that get organ transplants. So if you want to stay healthy, stay optimistic. Look at the beautiful side, find the silver lining. And this is our task today. And then we can dream peace and dream beauty into being for all beings, not just for humanity, for all creatures.
That's why your work is so important at this time, Alberto. While we are also grateful for you and what you've been teaching for so many years, I thought before we bring this wonderful conversation to a conclusion, you can do some drumming with us and help us to connect more to that power.
Sure. You know, one of the ways that we can reduce cortisol in the brain is by resetting the fight or flight system. And the fight or flight system gets switched on by fear. When we go, so it's in the exhalation that we can reset the fight or flight system. So what I want to invite you to do is to inhale to a count of 3 and exhale to a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and inhale 1, 2, 3, exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, inhale 1, 2, 3, and pause at the top of the breath for a moment. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and pause at the bottom of the breath for an instant. Inhaling 2, 3, pausing at the top of the breath. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause at the bottom, empty breath. Hold it empty. And inhale 1, 2, 3, and pause at the top. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Pause at the top of the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 1, 2, 3, and pause. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale deeply. And exhale. Let your breath return to normal. Open your eyes. And you can do this right before you go to sleep. When you're laying in bed, inhale to a count of 3 and exhale to a count of 5. And you'll reset your fight or flight. And you'll be able to find inner peace. And you can do that through the breath. Because the breath is where the autonomic and the voluntary systems in the body meet. So we cannot stop breathing. It's programmed automatically into our brain, but we can regulate our breath. But dolphins, for example, they don't have breathing as an autonomic function. We can't stop breathing, but a dolphin, if it's unhappy in the amusement park, will go to the bottom of the pool and decide not to take another breath. But we can regulate our breath, we can find inner peace, and then we can bring our inner peace to the world. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for having me on your show. Great to be with you.
Alberto, I know you've been doing a series of meditations and teachings. Can you just share where they are, where to go, and when they are so people can tune in to what you are offering?
Absolutely. They are Facebook Live meditations every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, New York time. 12 noon. We're doing ceremony, fire ceremony. I just finished doing an ascension ceremony, how you help a soul return back home to the world, the spirit consciously, and come to clear with their journey here on earth, that you can do for a loved one who may be passing or a friend to help them journey consciously back home to the world of spirit. Every Friday at 12 noon, it's in my personal Facebook page, Alberto Villoldo, PhD. You'll see my photo on a canoe in the Amazon, and every Friday we meet for 15 or 20 minutes. Join us in ceremony. Remember, ceremonies can change the world.
Yes, I encourage everyone to make sure they visit and take advantage of the wonderful healing and spiritual teachings you're offering us, Alberto. Thank you so much for all that you do. And thank you especially for your time today. It's been such an honor.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Blessings. Blessings to everyone watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye now. And thank you for joining me here on Living a Totally Healthy Life. I hope you'll be joining us on a regular basis because we have so many wonderful conversations to share with you. Bye for now.